Grigori Grabovoi is a man with phenomenal abilities. They are difficult to explain. They cannot, figuratively speaking, be placed in a system that defines human capabilities, even the most outstanding ones. What Grabovoi does goes beyond all our ideas about the extraordinary, the incomprehensible, the irrational. It's impossible to define his gift in one word. He easily dives into the past of any person and reliably paints a picture of the future. He can control the received information at any distance. He diagnoses not only people, but also planes and cars. He is capable of detecting not only problems in the operation of a nuclear power plant, but also movements in the Earth's crust and warning of an earthquake. Talking to him is both difficult and easy. It's difficult because the enormous amount of his knowledge, the scale of his thinking, the scope of his interests can confuse any interlocutor. The main direction of his activity is the development of a system of rescue from global disasters. But he lives not only in the world of mathematical calculations and formulas. The main object for him remains a person, his fate, his health, his place in a multidimensional world. And this makes the conversation accessible and easy. These are the words that begin the article published in the newspaper Moskovskaya Pravda of April 1st, 2000. Until 2005, newspapers and television published positive, interesting articles and broadcasts about the phenomenal abilities of the scientist, doctor of physical and mathematical sciences, doctor of technical sciences, Grigori Petrovich Grabovoi. The article is called Health is a State of Soul. In this article, Grigori Grabovoi gave very important explanations that are important for everyone to know and understand. We will voice a few questions from the correspondent and the answers to them and discuss this information a little. One of the correspondent's questions was this. Grigori Petrovich, you diagnose not only airplanes, cars, but also people. Is there any difference in the methods of such diagnostics? Answer. When diagnosing any object of information, I first of all pay attention to how it was created and on what principle. There is no fundamental difference in the diagnosis of the living and the inanimate. When I diagnose, I immediately see what the deviation from the norm is. My diagnostics doesn't fix the negative aspects, it makes the best possible for the object at once. Correspondent. Let's say a sick body and a faulty car give you signals about violations and malfunctions. What is the difference? Grigori Petrovich, I have already said that the main thing in diagnostics is to determine on what principle the object of research was created. For example, a chair is missing a leg. This is already a deviation from the norm. So when I see what is missing, I as if complete the object of information so that the norm is restored. Diagnostics of the human body also reveals deviations from the norm. The difference is in the fact that technology is a static system. It has a smaller number of events, a limited number of connections, for example, an engine, brakes, and a man is a self-developing system. In addition, he has an inviolable status from the creator, and therefore, when diagnosing and treating a person, his thoughts, desires are taken into account, the entire rich palette of emotions that colors his inner world. And every interval of events in his life, I bring any diseased organ back to normal, as if I'm growing it again. Question. In your works, You repeatedly expressed the idea that any objects of reality are information. To what extent is information a tool for you to influence a situation? Answer. There is a concept of perception in consciousness. There is a concept of the fact how consciousness can transform this perception. Well, to make it clearer, it's possible to say like this. At first, an event occurs, then it is perceived, and the perception is processed. Elements of perception have certain shapes, frequencies, colors, etc. All this is called information. From an information point of view, I look at the connections that organize the cause, for example, a disease, then those connections that help get the full norm. I call connections that contribute to recovery information that normalizes all deviations. I channel negative, bad information for the better. Information is the level that is easier to work with because I can take into account all the connections. Information helps track events in a person's life. For example, health is necessarily a good event ahead. Therefore, when I treat a patient, I regulate future events in his life for the better. Question. Can a person independently control information? Answer. Information control arises from a state of spirit. That is, when there is a need to change something due to current circumstances. It's important to be able to build the right bridge from information to change in the physical world. But now, please pay special attention. The correspondent asks, Grigori Petrovich, what is health in your understanding? Answer. Health is a state of reality in which the connections between a person and the outside world are most harmoniously established. Health is not only a physical condition. This is a moral concept, a social one, and even a political one. Health is a system of connections in which a healthy body exists. Question. Should we see doctors? Answer. Naturally, you should contact doctors, but at the same time, you need to know that many doctors treat only the body, that this is a drug treatment and not a treatment of the soul. It's necessary to use the maximum level that exists to improve health, medical, healing, spiritual, traditional, non traditional. Everyone should choose for themselves the most optimal method of maintaining and restoring health. Next question. What is a disease? Answer. Disease is a discrepancy between desires, needs, and existing tasks in the world. The disease must be considered from the point of view of harmonious connections in the world. If harmony is disturbed somewhere and in something, ill health appears. Here, we can stop and focus on how important it is to have harmonious connections with the world. After all, health is a system of connections. Health is a state of reality in which the connections between a person and the outside world are most harmoniously established. By establishing such connections with other people, with the world, a person has every chance to restore the body because if harmony is disturbed in something, ill health appears. The correspondent's next question is they say that you can be addressed mentally. How does this happen? Answer. It's like a kind of telepathic session. Yes, I accept mental requests. People's health is improving, problems are being solved. Recently, there was such a case. A young man was severely poisoned. Intoxication was incompatible with life. His mother concentrated her attention according to my method, mentally turned to me. The man survived. Everything was back to normal. They came to me later. In the collection practice of Control the Way of Salvation, there are testimonies from different people about what results they received in their situations when they mentally turned to Grigori Grabovoi. Very interesting testimonies. We advise viewers to watch this collection. Next question from the correspondent. In your healing technology, a large place is occupied by focusing on certain organs. Can this be called self-medication? Answer from Grigori Grabovoi. This is an independent use of my method. If you think at certain moments, as I suggest, healing will come. When you feel unwell, you should try to treat your body as a very simple system. You should imagine that you are in the desert or in an enclosed space. There will be no help, but you need to survive. A person in such a situation sees his hands and an isolated space. My practical advice: listen to yourself. You will definitely have the feeling that a shower stream is beating inside you. This always reflects on your hands. And then you need to concentrate your attention on this point, and relief will come. If your spine hurts, you should concentrate your attention on the ring finger of your right hand. To balance the pressure, you need to focus your attention on the tips of your fingers and toes. I have ready-made schemes for such concentration of attention on all organs. The principle of concentration is in the fact that you need to put a thought for recovery at the appropriate point, tune in to the fact that nothing hurts, and transfer this information to the diseased organ. A person spiritually must be able to do everything. He must learn to control all processes in his body. It's good when he's able by himself to cope with, for example, a headache. But this requires effort. For some, it causes discomfort and they resort to pills. This, of course, is simpler, but I want to warn you that drugs often lead to problematic consequences. Let's repeat it again. This is the most important information. You should try to treat your body as a very simple system. You should imagine that you are in the desert or in an enclosed space. There will be no help, but you need to survive. That's how a person should work on technology, to activate those unknown forces, his forces, which will definitely lead to a creative result. Remember, man, you are the world, you are eternity. You have immense powers. Your possibilities are endless. Yes, it's with such spiritual control that all human forces, not only physical but also spiritual, are mobilized. Do you remember in one of the lectures, Grigori Grabovoi told about the fact that an airplane was tested which somehow hit the bank of the Moskva River when landing. And so the cabin flew off just about 150 meters. The lower part fell off, the cabin flew off, and it stood as if in the form of a cone, the base of which was on the ground. And one of the pilots, he climbed out through a small window with a backpack. The window, which is located in the pilot cabin, is small. You can't even pull out a backpack there. However, when the rescue team arrived, he was already walking with his backpack outside this cabin. And when asked how he got out, he said that through this small window. But in normal condition, even a backpack wouldn't fit out of there. How did he manage to deform and get out? That is, these are the specific facts of control that manifest themselves at the level of taking spiritual positions or working in extreme conditions. And one more question from the correspondent. What is your basic principle of healing? Answer. Complete restoration of tissues and organs, even those that have been affected by metastasis. I'm guided by the principle that everything can be restored depending on the structure of consciousness, on the technology of thinking. Any destruction is illogical and meaningless because it's subject to restoration. By the way, there is nothing new in this statement. All this has been known since time immemorial. And so Grigori Grabovoi gives the technologies of thinking in his lectures, how to think in such a way as to get results according to your creative goals and objectives. How to think so that you can live forever. Here we can recall the quote. We can say that thought is united with the entire structure of the world and means a specific human action in this general structure. And we wish you that your thoughts were directed towards eternity, towards technologies of eternal development. By this way, you pave a certain path for yourself, which you yourself follow. After all, you are the designer of the light in eternity and the road of eternity. We wish you all an eternal and harmonious life. Thanks.